Right, folks. Right. Johnny, shut up. You'll be anybody that talks, it's got to drink cans of Diet Coke or Coke Zero. That's the threat. So I wasn't sure what people actually wanted to know, and I was going to put out questions, but I'm too lazy because I'm a really lazy YouTuber. So I'll just wing it. So it's going to be a basically show and tell, different types of power banks, a little chat about solar panels, over paneling, types of cables, and any questions at the end. And feel free to come up, have a fiddle about, press buttons on, ask any questions. Didn't even think it was that funny. There you go. So, Anchor C200, probably one of the best small power banks you'll get. No inverter, so no inverter loss. So if you fit an inverter in a power bank like this one, it means you'll get a 230 volt supply, but it also means you'll get inverter loss. So even just having the inverter switched on to give you the potential of the plugs, you'll probably lose it between 10 to 18% depending how efficient it actually is. So unless you actually need a 230 supply in your power bank, don't get one. Get something like that, or get the C300 version, but with no 230 ports. One of the most common questions you'll get is, what power bank do I need? I don't know. I don't know what you want it for. Depends what you want to use it for. Depends how, if it's for occasional power cuts, camping, preferably dual use, so it's not just sitting as an ornament, because it's a lot of money to sit in your house that you're never going to use. So ideally get some use out of it. If that even means that you're charging it and you've got it plugged into your dishwasher permanently and you're at least getting the use of the cycles, then it's not a waste of money. So it should never ever be a waste of money. So budget, use, anticipated use, and your needs are all going to come into it. And that's questions you've got to ask yourself realistically. Because it's all right saying, oh, I want to buy 10 power banks. Yeah, that's maybe going to be 10 grand out your budget. That's going to be you and the kids' holidays for 3 years. So it matters. And if it's for an SHTF scenario that's envisaged, then you could eke it out a lot less for a lot longer. But then the other common problem seems to be lately, I'll get messages regarding power banks, and I've just bought 2 power banks, I'm buying another 2, but I've got 1 solar panel, right? Well, that's not going to work for you, I would suggest, because the ratio, if it's going to be for occasional use, SHTF, whatever your needs are going to be, it should be 2 power banks to a minimum of 1 panel. At least that way, you can have 1 charging all the time, 1 in use. Although it should be noted that even when they're charging, you can still use them. But if it's for budgetary reasons, you want at least 1 power bank, 1 solar panel per charger, right, per bank. Because if you've got 1 panel but you've got 3 power banks, you're going to have one sitting there discharged all the time, waiting on it 4 or 5 hours time to charge and swap over. So you don't really want to do that. So don't rush out and spend 4 grand on power banks and you've got like a folding solar panel sitting there doing absolutely nothing. It's not going to work for you, because at some point they will be discharged, and other than that they're a paperweight unless you've got an ability to recharge them. Which brings us to seasonal issues. As you've probably noted, Scotland's not exactly famed for its temperate climate, so it brings its own problems regarding solar and charging. Even on a day like today, you'll get limited charging. You will get something out of the sun, but you're not going to get a lot. So with like a 200 watt panel, on an overcast rainy day like this, you'll probably get something like 20 to 40 watts. That's not a lot of power, but it'll put something into the cells, it'll put something into the power bank. And you've got the option then of overcharging, over paneling. So you would use what it would call branch connectors. So you're going to maximise the surface area to try and capture that meagre sun that's out there. So you'll parallel up a couple of panels, right? Then you'll go to your XT60 connectors and straight into your power bank. So you've doubled the surface area. So that meagre 20 to 40 watts potentially might jump to 40 or 80. So these are things that we want to think about for winter time. Winter time in our home setup. In the summer you'll maybe get, I don't know, 600 kilowatts per month. January, 40. February I got 4. Right? So 4 kilowatts is still 4 kilowatts. Albeit it's over the month, you're just going to have to eke things out. It's never going to run your telly and all that in your fridge for the full month and 4 kilowatts. But if you over-panelled it and you were charging one power bank, you could make it work. And it will work. That's basically 4 Delta 2s, fully charged 4 times in the month. That's what we're talking about in practical terms, if you went down that route. But we've got geographical limits that we're friends south of the border. You're probably going to enjoy an extra couple of months sunshine that we're not going to get up here. So, my personal preference and choices are Anchor or EcoFlow. Basically because it's what I've bought, what I've used and what I like. I've ran multiple cycles through all of these. I'll leave that thing at the back to the end. Right, we'll get to the...
There's a hammer involved.
Not today, but it might be at some point. You've got Jackery, you've got Blue Yeti, you've got Pecan, different other ones. Some of them I've tried, some of them I haven't, so I can't give you an opinion on them. Me and EcoFlow part company, probably after the next generation of Delta Pro 3 and EcoPro Pro 3, purely because they're doing a paywall now for the apps. The power banks are still good, but they want you to pay for functionality, and I'll never do that. So the technology gap for me will stop round about the Delta 2, Delta 3, purely because of the paywall, and I'll probably move on to something else at that point for that reason. It's not that the product's bad, it's just that the product is evolving to something that I don't want to travel in that direction anymore. So if you look on the power bank, we'll start with the Delta 2, which, my personal opinion, for just under 500 quid just now, if you're looking to buy one at all, it would be that. They've dropped for nearly 800-900 quid to just under 5. It's got a 1 kilowatt battery. It's got 5 USB ports on the front. It's got 4 230 plugs on the back. It's got your XT60 port there, your 230 charging port, the 12 volt charging port, which you'll never ever ever use because the car will explode before it fully charges. It's a waste of time. On the side, you've got a plug that you can plug in additional batteries. My personal opinion is I don't buy the batteries, because if that's 500 quid, for talking sake, the battery's about 4. If that fails, you've got a battery that's a paperweight. It is absolutely no use to you whatsoever. So for the difference of 100 quid, you've got redundancy. You've got one you can lend to a family member. You've got an R-power unit you can put throughout the house. But the battery is just a paperweight, it's a brick. It's absolutely no use to you for 100 quid. My personal opinion is it's a waste of money. Just for that reason. It's no good without the primary unit. If that goes, you've got nothing. If that goes and you've got a backup unit, at least you've got that. So for 100 quid, I'd spend the money. This is the old Delta Max. Different battery technology, about 1500 cycles less. You'll not see these anymore. It's a 1.6 kilowatt battery, arguably the same features as this one. It's too heavy to turn round, but it's got 2 battery inputs on it. Again, I didn't buy the batteries for the reasons we spoke about. You'll see people asking cables, what are they, what ones do I need? So that'll be what they would call an XT60 cable. It's very common, plugs into most power banks. That's MC4 cable ends. They'll go to your solar panels. Then you'll ask, but what about an XT60i? So that'll be different. It'll have a metal pin in here, and it basically lets the power bank know that it can take more current. The cable will be a heavier gauge, and it'll let you transmit more power. Instead of like 500, it'll go to an 800 watt supply. It's pennies for the difference in cable. They'll both work, but the XT60 will work better on more applications. So get the XT60i and make sure it's got the pin in it. And all the pin does is switch on functionality in the power bank if it's looking for it. Your MC4 cables, these are your connectors. If you're making up your own leads, your own cables, very, very simple. Cable end, gland, cable comes through, fits in here, goes to a pin, you crimp that on, put that back on, screw it up, clip the two together. It's as easy as that. They're couple of quid for a pack. So you can make up your own leads, dead simple.
Are they watertight for external?
Yes,
Yeah.
if you crimp them properly. So if you look at it on the back, cable comes through here, and then you've got a rubber seal, which has got an obvious taper on it. Fits in like that. Fits in there. These have got rubber seals on them. Now, you'll see people have got reported house fires with solar panels. That's bad connections that does that. Bad connection equals high resistance, equals flames and a bad time for everybody. Use pliers if you know what you're doing with the pliers. That was a hint that I tend to crimp them using pliers rather than the appropriate MC4 crimping tool. If you're confident and comfortable with what you're doing, use whatever you like. If you're not, use the crimping tool. But either way, don't be scared to give it a good tug, manipulate it, flex it, because in its working environment, that's what it's going to get. It'll be out in extremes of temperature, heat, cold, moisture, and all that good stuff. So you want to make sure you're not getting a high resistance, or you're going to have a fire, and you might lose your house and everybody in it. So it really matters. Don't buy cables for Temu. Just don't buy cables for Temu. You've no idea what you're buying, you don't know what's in it. It could be an aluminium core, very little copper. It could be cheap shit you're buying. It could be really poor cable connections and crimps. Don't use them.
Right. Is there a maximum advisable length of those cables?
So you'll get a voltage drop over the length of the cable. The longer the cable, the greater the voltage drop. So it should be a thicker cable. If you are going to run a long cable run, you would run them in series because higher voltage will push it along the cable. So we'll talk about series and parallel in your solar panels. When we talk about over paneling, they'll be in parallel. So your power bank will have what they'll call a maximum open circuit voltage. That's how much power you can put in it before it goes pop. I'll qualify that, how much voltage you can put in it before it goes pop. The problem is, if you've got the perfect scenario, you might have a really cool summer's day, high sun, strong sun. Your panel input on a normal day might be 50 volts, but in that perfect circumstance, it could exceed that and pop it. So allow a 10 to 15% safety margin. So if you're going to put panels in it that are going to have an input voltage of 30 volts, and that's 50, which it is, well 50, 60, depending on the model, that's fine. You've got a decent safety buffer for that elusive, nice sunny day that we never seem to get, right? So you would parallel them up. So you could have these two here. If you had a long transmission line, you would have your MC4 cable going from here to here, out this one into the next one, and then back completing your circuit before you connect into your cable and into the power bank. The problem with that, that'll double the voltage, right? So if they're 50 volt panels, you've put 100 volts into the power bank, which will pop it. So we don't want to be doing that. So you would parallel it up, so it'll go instead of a circuit like that, it'll be like this, getting into these two branch connectors, right? So you'll connect one cable from each panel, and each of these, positive, negative, then into this, and as straightforward as that, straight into your power bank. So that's giving you, say, I always advocate City Plumbing for large static panels. It's about 72 quid and you'll get a 500 watt 8x4 sail, right? I know they're no the most aesthetically pleasing thing, but for the price point, they've got really good values for what we're wanting. You could have two of them, plug them in a low light condition like this, you'll maximise all that surface area and double the potential power you'll get in the power bank. So it's not that I don't like the flexi panels, it's just that they're prone to damage. They're no for everyday use. They're good for occasional camping. They're good for shit hits the fan and you want to stick them out there. But the problem arises with the flex. If you're doing this a couple of times a week, even a couple of times a day, putting them out in the morning, taking them in at night time, they manipulate, they twist, they flex, they break. So bearing in mind, the circuit for this will be complete going through here. There's wires in here, and if you're doing that, the wire will become work hardened, brittle and snap, right? Or worse, it'll go whoosh, you might get a fire. Generally they just break and it doesn't work anymore. So if you know you're going to have a static situation, you've got available space, always buy the rigids. If it's something to keep just in case and you don't have space, then these are great. But you'll pay 3 times the price for this, a 200 watt panel for talking's sake. You'll pay about 160 quid, roughly, whereas you'll get a 500 watt panel for like 70 quid. Huge difference. It's more robust, it's more rugged, and it'll last you potentially 25 years. If you're doing that with this all day, every day, it'll never see the year out. So it's a waste of money in my opinion for that reason. But if you want to keep it for shit hits the fan, occasional use, yeah, get these if you're limited with space. If you're not limited with space, you've got a shed you can stick it in, put a cover on it to protect it, get the rigid panels. That's my kind of opinion on it. I'm going to get stung here. Cheaper power banks. A-Fray, and there's loads of different power banks with lots of different names, basically getting built in the same factory. It'll say it's a 2 kilowatt battery, it'll say it's a 2,500 watt inverter. I could say a lot of things that aren't true about me as well, doesn't make it factual. That's about 700 quid new. It's Big Brother in this scenario, so if it was the Delta 2 Max, they're really cheap now, it's about £1,000. For the difference of a couple of hundred quid, a couple hundred quid's a couple hundred quid. For functionality, reliability, and the fact that it don't go up in flames, get that one. These have got a price point if that's what you can afford. Just don't run it to its max. You'll probably never need... It's going to end on a comedy show on it. You'll probably never need the maximum output and inverter on that, unless you're running high output appliances all day, every day. Are you really going to be microwaving anything all day, every day? I would suggest probably not. You don't want to be using heaters with power banks unless you're really, really desperate. It's not a good use of your resources. That's a 2 kilowatt power bank. That'll last you a 1 bar heater, maybe an hour and 3/4, maybe. And then it's no good for anything else for at least 6 to 7 hours till you can recharge it. That's when you're looking at electric blankets, that's when you're looking at your log fire, if you're a proper prepper, which rules out most of us. Any questions on what we've done so far or spoke about? Has anybody got any actual questions?
Why do you know about a log fire?
I'm not a proper prepper. I'd like to be, but it's... If that gets to the stage, mate, I'll just set that on fire and put my hands up like that and hope for the best.
It's on the shopping list after the freeze dryer.
Is it an Anderson connection?
It's got 2, so the DC one on that is an Anderson plug.
Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't know what an Anderson plug is, it's basically like a small... I'll show you actually. It's a heavy duty plug for 12 volt DC that'll allow you to dump a lot more current. Rather than that horrible, nasty 12 volt socket there. That's on the back on this one. I'm not going to spin it around in case we lose the cable. It's basically that size. It's a plastic plug and it'll take 30 amps. Whereas you'll be lucky if that takes about 7 without melting. These things were built for cigarette lighters for a couple of seconds at a time. When you put it in, it goes click. And they fired them into everything. They were never designed for long-term current draw. If it's not perfectly engaged in the plug, you get high resistance it goes melting. Arguably you get the same problems. I'm pretty active in most of the power bank forums, and a lot of problems you see is these things keeping up in flames, they melt. People have lost power banks right, left and centre. The XT60, XT60i terminals melt. If you're going to plug something in all day, every day, look at what you're doing. You shouldn't be doing that. Leave it in, leave it plugged in. If you're going to keep pulling it in and out, the connection will get loose. Gets loose, you get high resistance, you get fire. So if you're going to buy one, leave it plugged in. Right? You probably shouldn't be plugging it in and out every day. They'll say it's okay to do that, but practical evidence on the ground says it's not, because it just catches fire and melts. Right? If you plug anything in and out, it'll go slack. If you can, leave it plugged in. That's my advice. These are the tools for, these are the cheap ones. So when you're making your connections on these, hole for the cable in here, goes on there, give it a good old tighten. Hold that there, spin it right up without dropping it. Ideally, one finger, keep spinning it until there. Don't put your hand on it because you'll ham it up and you'll snap it. Just use one finger, and when it gets to that, and you can't go any more, right? Because you've not got a lot of leverage with just that finger. That's tight enough, that's plenty. You don't have to, right? It's only a rubber seal in there. That's all you're tightening. You're making it watertight and tight. You're itching to say something, JP. Go for it.
Again, with the plastic ones, it's a built-in torque wrench. See when you tighten it up and it slips?
Yep.
It's a poor man's torque wrench for the connector being at the
right torque setting.
Right torque setting.
There you go.
Right, you can buy the Stabula, so very expensive torque wrenches.
I've seen the metal ones as well.
Stabula kits, probably proper torque wrenches for electricians, but the plastic ones are essentially, it's a poor man's torque wrench to get the right.
And they work. They're perfectly good. The only time that they're no very good, just while we're on the subject to how shit these can be, disconnection. You'll notice that these legs are splayed as if somebody's went bananas on it in a fit of rage. That may well have happened. So to split your MC4 connectors, in case anybody's not done it, what should happen is this goes in there like that, and it very easily comes apart if you don't drop it. And you've got other legs for it as well. So it should just push in and pull apart like that. When you're on a ladder and you're on the shed and you're clinging on with your legs jammed against the rungs and you're trying to do that and hold these without pulling ends out of them, it's not really that easy, I've got to be honest. It doesn't quite work like that.
The tool, that specific tool, is designed for failure. So instead of you breaking your MC4 connector and stabbing a big bit of metal in there, the tool's designed to break before you break into the connection.
That's my third one.
They're designed to break, they're designed for failure.
For that reason, they don't last that long. So put it in, should pull apart that easy. I'm genuinely blown away that there's people watching and it's actually split that easy. I was anticipating a car crash show of me going, look, this is how simple it can be. It's as easy as that, right?
Be honest, I've never got a problem.
You can fuck off. Fine, it's just me that's the problems then. There's always a fucking heckler.
I was actually surprised I was
Any questions on power banks, fixed solar, anything like that, connections?
Smaller powerbanks. What's the sort of price point?
That one?
Yeah, and the other one as well.
So the C300 at the moment is about 189 quid on average across the board. C200, I think it's about 86 quid now. It's all right. It's a good power bank, but what rips me with this one, you don't get a charger with it. Right, that really boils my piss. Excuse the language, folks. I swear a lot, as you've probably noticed. It's a good power bank, but your charger, if you buy the Anchor one, it's about 30 quid. You can buy a generic one for about, I think it was about 15 quid. What was yours?
I used the phone charger.
Aye.
That's it.
See, you must have a good phone charger then, 'cause it's an 18 watt input to get it to kick in. Most phone chargers will only fire us up. The Anchor one, if you had the Anchor charger price onto buying this, see, to be honest, don't bother. Just buy the C200, whether it's the AC or the DC version. This is comparable to like an EcoFlow River 3, not the Pro. Pro's got a bigger battery. For a starting out power bank, value for money, you won't get any better than that in my opinion. I've ran cordless drills, that'd be a good trick. I've ran 230 drills, grinders, and a chainsaw briefly before it tripped it out. You're asking a lot of a small power bank if you're going to run high current appliances. It's just not going to do it. With power bank, size dictates capacity. It really just is. Think about what you're going to plug into it. If you're going to need something that needs a lot of power, take a step up get something like a Delta 2. But if it was an introductory power bank that'll do a bit of everything relatively well for a short duration, that's brilliant. They're really, really good. If you do not need a 30 volt supply, the DC only version of this, you'll get about 18% longer out your battery life because you're not going to have the inverter on. So it's a better buy, and it's got a funky little pop-up light as well that looks a bit better aesthetically than this one. So it's a good power bank. Where's Rob? Does that answer you?
Yes, spot on. Thank you, mate.
Go for it.
With the one with the little pop-up light, what size power solar panel is it on it?
You can get the Rhenology P100 one, fits it. I can't remember, I think it's an 18 volt supply maximum it takes. I can't remember, I need to look up the specs. But if you chuck a comment on Discord, I'll find out, because I sent the info to Andy, who was here yesterday, and he bought it. I'm sure the Rhenology P100 does it, and it's a straight fit. It's 130 quid. So it'll be a small panel. It'll probably not be any more than about 120 volts, 120 watts, sorry. It's going to be a small panel because it's a small power bank. So your charge controller inside, it's going to be a blob of plastic and aluminium that size with a few transistors on it. Am I missing out MD in the corner? Sorry. MD, any questions? Random insults?
How much was the last one that you showed us, Brian?
That one? 189 at the moment.
It's a bit less for the DC one.
DC's cheaper.
Yeah.
DC's cheaper. Yeah, go on then. That'll be alright. We've got a kind helper who's going to bring one out and show you what the other one looks like. Aesthetically, the DC one looks better. It's slightly smaller with a nice little pop-up light. And it depends on what your needs are.
So
really.
what AC watts for that? Right, charging watt, 500 watt?
Oh god, no, you're about 230, something, 230, 240. It's not a lot.
The transport of fixed freezer starting up current draw.
I've ran an American fridge freezer on that for a video. It'll run it, but if it's cool and you're running the compressor on startup and you're having to refreeze everything in it, it ain't going to do it. It's going to trip out. It'll depend on how efficient your fridge freezer is. That's never designed for a fridge freezer. Thank you very much. Isn't it cute? I love the light on these. It just blows me away. It's funky.
Wrong word.
Oh no.
Don't use that.
No need for swearing. So that one, it's the same battery. It's got the same waters, right? My God, they've been breathing. We get two now.
Barry didn't tell you he ran and grabbed one.
Sorry.
I've got that.
Oh, you've got the like somebody's got money, yeah. If you've got lots of cash, you can afford the charger.
Or if you use, right, if you use you've got a USB-C laptop. USB-C laptop
Aye.
TV charger.
That'll do it.
USB charger. Not a phone charger, but your laptop charger.
What I've done in the past is used one of the Delta 2s
With a 100 watt PV output.
and just charge it off that.
Yeah.
So if you've got an power bank and the right lead, plug it in and you can just daisy chain it. I've daisy chained that one of them, another Delta 2 and a C300, and then plugged the last one in the line off a generator and just charged them all the way through the line.
If you've got a newer car that's got power distribution port in it, like Mike's car probably has a 100 watt PV port in it, that's another way to charge them.
I feel so cheated. I ordered the Ford Explorer and I was waiting on it arriving with it on it, and it was an option I didn't know. So I've got an 82 kilowatt battery that I can never use. Thank you so much for getting that. So that's what I was trying to say about efficiency and your needs. Needs being key. If you do not need these, that has got the same battery capacity as this one. You've just got less shit in the box, basically, right? So that'll do the same job as that on the DC side. So if you do not need plugs, get that one. And it's a bit cheaper as well. It's a fantastic power bank. It really is. Where's Barry? Oh, there he is. I didn't know you'd got that. Oh, it's not got the cover.
Back.
The other one's got a little sliding cover to cover the XT.
Yeah.
Peasant. I'm not, she's got money, I'm a kept man, I'm poor. I'm a grease monkey with a shirt and tie on. So, solar panels, this is obviously portable stuff. Has anybody got or considering solar for their home, or any questions on domestic solar, apart from you? You don't need to know it. No.
Alright, go on.
For your home, what are you thinking?
Right.
That's what we did. We did it in 2 stages. So on the first lot, we put in 4 kilowatts on the south facing rear of the house, 3.6 kilowatt inverter, and a stack of server rack batteries. If anybody doesn't know what, have you ever seen in a workplace or whatever, a server rack? And it's got all the little blinking lights and the RG45 cables and stuff. Server rack batteries are just basically big batteries that side in a server rack.
So wait till he's back and hopefully...
And they don't look 19 inches. Does that know how it works? So they generally don't look as flush and nice as some of the newer products that's on the market. They do the same job, right? And it's easier to stack and build and add to than all the fancy covers on the other ones. There's a grow bat and all the rest of it. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but you're paying for the sleek looks, right? Because ultimately you're either going to stick it in a server rack cupboard or box it in with suitable vent and cooling. So we put in 12 kilowatts of server rack batteries at the start. When you're installing, you've got a few things need to happen if you want to export. So there's a scam in the UK at the moment, call it a scam. You've got to be MCS accredited to get an M-Plan number. No M-Plan number, no export. So your installer should be MCS accredited. You need them to give you that certificate at the end. You send that number to your DNO, which will be like Scottish Power, Southern Energy, whatever it is. After about 8 weeks of chasing them and exporting to the grid for free and being really, really angry, they will send you an M-Plan number. And then you can get a decent tariff, Octopus, Flux, Cozy, Intelligent, whatever it is. Until then, you're sending it to the grid for nothing, right? So it takes about 2 months, 6 weeks to 2 months. G98 is entering up to 3.6 kilowatts, potential import-export. You can do it retrospectively, right? You can fit your kit and then get your G98. Your installer should do drawings for you and they send all that in. If you want to go above that, you need to do a pre-application. Your installer should talk you through that and do drawings. That's what we'd call a G99 application. And that'll be anything above 3.6 kilowatts potential export and import. And they will then give you authorisation to do that, and you fit whatever they can say. They'll maybe say, we will limit you to 6 kilowatts potential export and import. Maximum you'll probably get in a single phase is about 8 kilowatts. Then you can get into the realms of doing other shit like different inverters and paralleling them up. But basically, you've got 2 options in the UK. We'll not talk about G100 because it's not really relevant. G98, G99. The only thing you need to remember is G99 you can do after, but it's limited. G99 you need to do before, and they'll tell you what you can do. And the reason that they'll do that is they'll look around at the infrastructure. Your house might have been built 50s, 60s, whatever. All the infrastructure is really old, and they don't want to overload the grid in that local area. If it's a relatively new build estate, then you might have more potential to get a higher output and import. So it just depends. But they will tell you. As a rule of thumb, if you look round about your street and nobody's got solar panels, you've got a very good chance of getting a higher export and import, probably between 6 and 8 kilowatts. So after the second year, we ditched the 3.6 kilowatt inverter, put in a 6, doubled the battery stack, and put a north facing array. Hits only about 20% as efficient as the south, but it's still 20% more sun than we were capturing. So the solar panels were 70 quid a pop. and the mountain slides is just about £1,000 roughly. Because of the peculiarities of the pricing, putting in the second array, the bigger inverter, and doubling the batteries was £4,000 cheaper than the first time round. I don't know why. It just was. I wasn't going to argue, but it was. So that's where we've went with solar so far. Roughly get figures going back about 3 years. 2023 was relatively good. 2024 was probably about 30% less than we got the first year. This year, May was excellent. It was fantastic. This month, not so much. But to put it in perspective, we use a lot of power and we've still not had an electricity bill since March. And we're probably about 140 quid in credit at the moment. We generally let that build up. And then round about September, November, October, November, the heat pump will kick in and the electricity usage just goes like a hamster on a Ferris wheel. It goes crazy. So anything we've built up during the summertime generally gets eaten alive by the heavy use of the heat pump during the winter months. But the average for the year, you're probably working at about 60 quid for your energy costs for a mid. We don't have gas at all, so everyone's electric. So a mid-terraced ex-council house, that's what we our figures stack up at. So that's fixed solar. If anybody's got any questions or experiences on that, or anything to do with power banks or vehicle solar panels, charging systems, anything like that.
What's your thought on second-hand solar panels? They seem to be a lot cheaper.
To be honest, you'll get a brand new 500 watt solar panel for about 70 quid. Even if they're selling you a second hand one of the same capacity for £45, it doesn't make sense to me. I wouldn't save the 30 quid, because with the new panel you'll get a guarantee of like 25 year. You do not know the life history of that, and unless you're comfortable with testing it, I mean, the panel will probably still work. It degrades over time. It just depends how it's been used, the environment it's worked in. The same with these, they'll say that it's guaranteed for 5 to 10 years depending on the model. That doesn't mean to say it just stops working at that point. It just means that they'll guarantee the battery capacity will be about 80%. So it'll still work long after that. It just means they'll only guarantee it for that side. So with the more cycles you put through a battery, depending on the battery chemistry, it degrades over time. If most of us that are using a power bank or your home domestic system, you're not doing hard cycles to extremes all day, every day. So you'll probably get more than its predicted 80% life expectancy anyway. But with regard to solar panels, for the difference in price, unless it was really, 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 really cheap and you were filling a field full of them, then it might make sense. But even that, I wouldn't do it. I personally wouldn't. You're saving probably 30 quid a panel.
What you're looking at is the difference between a 450 watt panel to 2 years ago, and a 450 watt panel today is, everybody looks at the sticker and says it's 450 watts, but what you're not seeing is they're introducing technology like low voltage cut-offs per cell for shading.
The efficiency's better.
The efficiency's better, but also folk are buying like solar edge voltage to optimise the panel with shading. But in reality, all the latest panels that are coming out, and they're only £70,
It's built in.
they've already got that built in. So back in the early days, if you had shading, the entire panel got cut off. Potentially the entire string. But what you've got now is it went to 1 foot squared, the 1 foot squared got cut off, and now we're down to like 2 inches to 4 inches.
Aye, couple inches.
Cut off. So the difference between a £70 panel and a second hand one for £50 is massive. As in, even if it's 2 years old, the technology's come on leaps and bounds since then,
And it's getting even better. Cambridge have brought one out. I'll try to remember the name of the company. They've actually went to market and they've patented it using the new Perskovsky crystal technology. And that's went for an average efficiency of 18 to 22% to like just under 30%. But they've not got the economy of scale. They'll sell it to industry because they're doing projects, but they'll not sell it to Joe Public. So the efficiency of solar panels, like JP was saying, it's coming on leaps and bounds. The problem is if you hold off for the next wave and the next generation of tech, you'll never fit it. So there's going to come a point where you want to pull the trigger and just go for it. And for the price point of the panels, your rails are already on. It's only half a shift to get somebody to come in, rip them all off and replace them all. And the price point's coming down all the time.
The ironic thing with solar panels is, see the more sunshine you've got, the hotter the panels get and the less efficient they are. So
A hot summer's day is the worst thing that you want.
a hot summer's day is your least efficient day.
Not a problem round here. Not a problem around here.
Do you know,
One of the ironic things with solar.
a cool summer's day is probably your best bet. You'll see your best results probably around about April. April to early May is where you'll get the best solar efficiency. Even some of the winter months, when the sun's low in the ecliptic, you'll get really good solar performance, especially if it's not optimised. Average 33 degrees, depending where you are, it just changes, but average 33 degrees. So if you've got a flat mount solar panel on your wall or on your fence in winter time, it'll work a lot better. So it does.
Advice to anybody doing it. If you're putting solar panels on a roof, you fill that roof plate because your cost isn't in the panels.
It's the install.
If you put 10 panels up at £70 each, that's £700. Your scaffold hire for that week for erection, hire and dismantle will be £1,000, £1,500. So if you ever decide to upgrade the panels in the future, or you say, oh, I want an extra two because I only put so much on. So you put, when you're doing a roof face, you put everything on it that will physically fit in the frame.
The company that done ours, the guys were using ladders. I just went in and shut the door and walked away. So that's their liability. But they were literally climbing up a ladder, holding 500 watt panels and then creeping about the roof, and I'm going, no, this guy's going to be a statistic for sure.
Unofficially, and I wouldn't recommend anybody do this, even though you technically you're allowed to do it, is it's easy to replace panels yourself because you're literally put on roof, clamped down, plugging cables in. Yeah? There's a big difference installing them the first time, but when it comes to replacing them, it is a job you can do yourself. 4
screws and a windy gun. It'll take you about 5 minutes. Zap, 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 zap.
And the way the panels, so in a permanent setup, the way the panels are connected is, Brian showed the MC4 connectors. On the roof, when you buy a solar panel, it just has 2 MC4 connectors on it, a female one and a male one, and you just daisy chain them together.
Can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong. So when you're replacing them,
Here, you can have a pass them round. You can have a look.
The hardest thing about replacing the panels is, as Brian alluded to earlier, is actually getting the thing disconnected.
Just have a wee hand about and see what you. So they're branch connectors. That's an XT60. Answers on a postcard. What's the difference between the XT60 and XT60i? See who was listening. Apart from you, everybody else doesn't know.
I know.
So what difference does the pin make? Spot on.
Brian, there's actually solar cable in that bag.
There'll be a written test at the end.
And the panels, there's actually solar cable in there.
What have you got? A 6mm?
Just jabbing in the side.
Oh, aye.
So the difference between solar cable is everybody will look at this and think it just looks like normal wire.
No.
In the UK, it's double insulated.
I should have brought. I've got crimps. I'd have handed them round.
There's in that bag there, Brian. See they take the mics out and then there's loads of tools and connectors and crimps and that in there.
Can I chop a bit off this?
Aye. Well, you're supposed to be making it.
I'm sure you've seen them before.
Just put that back in there. We'll crimp a set up later on. It's no problem.
Aye, there's a crimp shell in there.
What have you got? I've got that one.
Aye. That's the solar crimp. I said they say it's the solar one, but it's just the 6mm crimp.
Apart from the indentation in the middle, it's just the same as a bog standard set of crimps.
Yeah, right.
I'll be using long nose pliers, mate. And it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
It'll be
Famous last words.
You've got an outdoor heater. What more could you ask for? Save you a fortune. So it's better to let people see what's there and what they look like, what it feels like, have a poke about with it. You're more than welcome to go over, lift, play, turn on, piss about with any of the power banks and stuff. solar panels, whatever you like. If you want to see one in a camper van setup, give me a shout, I'll open the back. The hit's got its own leisure batteries, inverter, battery to battery, MPPT charge controller. It's got a 500 watt solar panel on the roof, mains charger, auto switch over, different things. So if you want any questions on camper vans or anything, you're more than welcome to have a nosy and a poke, or let me know. So, any questions before I give you peace and sit down and that? We all good? Thanks, folks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well done, Brian.
That wasn't stressful at all.
That's the longest Brian spoke without me being
Thank you.
demonetised.
I'm prepared for anything, come rain or shine. From the sea